The next and foremost function of management is staffing. Staffing is the process of hiring eligible candidates in the organization or company for specific positions. In management, the meaning of staffing is an operation of recruiting the employees by evaluating their skills, knowledge, and then offering them specific job roles accordingly. Staffing can be defined as one of the most important functions of the management. It involves the process of filling the vacant position of the right personnel at the right job at right time. Hence, everything will occur in the right manner. And there are certain important functions of staffing, and this includes the first and foremost function of staffing is um, to obtain qualified personnel for different job position in the organization. In staffing, the right person is recruited for right jobs. Therefore, it leads to maximum productivity and higher performance. It helps in promoting the optimum utilization of human resource through various aspects. Job satisfaction and morale of the worker increases through the recruitment of the right person. Staffing helps to ensure better utilization of human resources. It ensures the continuity and growth of the organization through development managers. And uh, staffing has an important place in the management function, and these are the most important functions of staffing. Importance of staffing: effective use of technology and other resources. That is, what is staffing and technology connection, how it is connected? Well, it is a human factor that is instrumental in the effective utilization of the latest technology. Humans are using latest technology in staffing the employees and capital, material, etc. And the management can ensure the right kind of personnel by performing the staffing function. And next one is optimum utilization of human resources. The wage bill of big concerns is quite high. Also, a high amount is spent on recruitment, selection, training, and development of employees to get the optimum output staffing function to be performed in an efficient manner. And another importance of staffing is development of human capital. That is, another function of staffing is concerned with human capital requirements. Since management is required at all levels and to determine in advance the manpower recruitment, and therefore it has to be trained and developed the existing personnel for career advancement. This will meet the requirements of the company in the future. Then the motivation of human resources in an organization. The behavior of individuals is influenced by various factors which are involved, such as education level, needs, socio-cultural factors, etc. Therefore, the human aspects of the organization have become very important, and so that the workers can also be motivated by financial and non-financial incentives in order to perform their functions properly in achieving the objectives. And next one is building higher morale. The right type of climate should be created for the workers to contribute to the achievement of the organizational objectives. Therefore, by performing the staffing function effectively and efficiently, the management is able to describe the signature and importance which it attaches to the personal working of the enterprise. And next one is about the characteristics of staffing. Staffing has certain characteristics like people-centered, responsibility of manager, human skills, etc. People-centered means staffing can be broadly viewed as people-centered function, and therefore it is relevant for all types of organization. It is concerned with the categories of personnel from top to bottom of the organization. Blue collar workers, those working on the machines and engaged in loading, unloading, etc. And white collar workers, that is clerical employees. And a managerial and non-managerial person, professionals, that is company secretary, chartered accountants, doctors, engineers, etc. And responsibility of manager. The staffing function is the basic function of management which involves the manager continuously engaged in performing the staffing function. They are actively associated with the recruitment, selection, training, and appraisal of his subordinates. Therefore, the activities are performed by the chief executive, department managers, and foreman in relation to their subordinates. And the last function characteristics of staffing is human skills. Staffing function is mainly concerned with the different types of training and development of resources, and therefore the managers should use human relation skill in providing guidance, training to the subordinates. If the staffing function is performed properly, then the human relations in the organization will be cordially and mutually performed in an organization in an effective manner. So these are the characteristics of staffing. Next important function of management is directing. Directing is said to be a process in which the managers instruct, guide, and oversee the performance of workers to achieve the predetermined goals. Directing is said to be the heart of management process. Planning, organizing, staffing has no great importance if direction function does not take place. And directing initiates the action, and it is from here actual work starts. Direction is said to be consisting of human factors in simple words. It can be described as providing guidance to workers is doing so, doing the work. And directing involves four elements in directing is there, and there are they are communication, leadership, supervision, and motivation. And this study studied directing in length material notes on various directing elements. And supervising employees is an important part of directing. And supervising means while employees while doing the job, pushing them to perform better and leading them towards organization goals. And all examples of directing, telling individuals what to do and seeing them execute to do it in the best of their abilities is also a form of direction. And the main characteristics of direction includes pervasive function. Directing is required at all levels of organization. Every manager provides guidance and inspiration to his subordinates. It's a continuous activity. Directing is a continuous activity and it is continuous throughout the life of the organization. Human factor. Directing function is related to subordinates and therefore it is related to human factor. Since human factor is complex and behavior is unpredictable, directing function is becomes important. And next one is creative activity. That is, directive function helps in converting plans into performance. Without it, this function, people become inactive and physical, and resources are meaningless. Executive function. Directive function is carried out by all managers and executives at all levels throughout the working of an enterprise. A subordinate receives instruction from his supervisors only, superior only. Delegate function. Direction is supposed to be a function dealing with human beings. Human behavior is unpredictable by nature, and conditioning the people behavior towards the goals of the enterprise is what the executive does in this function. Therefore it is termed as having delicacy in tackle the human behavior. Next one is the role of a supervisor. Supervision is an important part of directing, and supervisor has got an important role to play in factory management. Supervision means overseeing the subordinates at work at the factory level. The supervisors is a part of the management team and he holds the designation of first line managers. He or she is a person who has to perform many functions which help in achieving productivity. Therefore, supervisor can be called as the only manager who has an important role at execution level. There are certain philosophers who call supervisors as workers. They are yet some more philosophers who call them as managers, but actually he may be called as manager at operative manager. His primary is to manage the workers at operative level of management. And uh, next role, supervisor's role is there are several roles for the supervisors, and there a supervisor has to as a planner, supervisor has to plan the daily work schedules in the factory. At the same time, he has to divide the work to various workers according to their abilities. Then as a manager, it is rightly said that a supervisor is a part of the management team of an enterprise and he is an operative manager. And as a guide and leader, a factory supervisor leads the workers by guiding them the way of perform their daily tasks. In fact, he plays a role of inspirer by telling them. And as a mediator, a supervisor is called a linking pin between management and the worker. He is the spokesperson of management as well as worker. As an inspector, an important role of supervisor to enforce discipline in factory is work include checking progress of work against the time schedule, recording the work performance at regular intervals, reporting the deviations if any from those. He can also frame rules and regulation which have to be followed by workers during their work. Then as a Counselor, a supervisor plays the role of a counselor in the worker's problem. He may perform this role in order to build good relation and cooperation from workers. This is done not only by listening to the grievances but also handling the grievance and satisfying the workers. These are all the functions of directing. Next and the most foremost function of management is controlling. Controlling means the management of the organization is responsible for deciding predetermined standards and making sure that the performance of the employees match with the standards set by the management. And in the case of performance of employees does not match with the standards, then taking required corrective measures. The role of management of an organization is to make sure that the goals of the organization are achieved as planned and on time. Out of many functions of the management, control function is one of the most important function of the organization. Controlling means giving instruction to employees and making sure that the instructions are being followed as desired by the management. The management of the organization makes sure that the resources of the organization are being used properly and are being used for the growth of the organization and are not being wasted in any way. Control is a function of management that helps to check errors and take corrective actions. This is done to minimize deviation from standards and ensure that the stated goals of the organization are achieved in a desired manner. According to modern concept, control is foreseeing action. Earlier concept of control were used only when errors are detected. Control in management includes setting standards, measuring actual performance, and taking corrective actions in decision making. And the main characteristics of control is a continuous process and control is a management process. Control is closely linked with planning. Control is a tool for achieving organizational activities. Control is an end-to-end process. Control compares actual performance with planned performance. Control point out the errors in the execution process. Control minimizes cost. Control achieves the standard. Control saves time. Control helps the management monitor performance. Control compares performance against standards. Control is an action oriented. And next one is the elements of four basic elements in a control system are the characteristics or condition to be controlled, the sensor, the comparator, and the activator. They occur in the same sequence and maintain consistent relationship with each other in every system. The first element is the characteristics or condition of the operating system to be measured. Specific characteristics are selected because a correlation exists between them and the system's performance. A characteristic can be output of the system during any stage of processing, or it may be a condition that is the result of the system. The temperature in the room which has changed because of the heat generated by the furnace. And it is in an elementary school system, the hours of teacher works or the gain in knowledge demonstrated by a student or a national examination are examples of characteristics that may be selected for measurement or control. The second element of control, the sensor, is a means for measuring the characteristic. For example, in a home heating system, this device would be thermostat, and in quality control system, the measurement might be performed by a visual inspection of the product. The third element of control is the encompator determines the need for correction by comparing what is occurring within what has been planned. Some deviation from the plan is usual and unexpected, but variations are beyond those considered acceptable. Corrective action is required. It involves a sort of preventive action that indicates that good control is being achieved. And the fourth element of control, the activator, is the corrective action taken to return the system to its expected output. And the actual person, device, or method used to direct corrective inputs into the operating system may take a variety of forms. It may be hydraulic controller positioned by a solenoid or electric motor in response to an electronic error signal, an employee directed to rework the parts that failed to pass quality inspection, or a school principal who decides to buy additional books to provide for an increased number of students. As long as a plan is performed within allowable limits, corrective action is not necessary. However, this seldom occurs in practice. Information is the medium of control because the flow of sensory data and later the flow of corrective information allow a characteristics or condition of the system to be controlled. And these are all the four basic elements of controlling, that is characteristic, sensor, comparator and the activator. Thank you. And next one is types of control. Types of control includes feedback control, concurrent control, feed forward control, steering control, and yes or no control. Feedback control is feedback control involves collecting information about a finished task, assessing the information, and improving these types of tasks in the future. Example, managers may take feedback from their employees and improve the process based on the feedback. Concurrent control is the real-time control, wherein the problems are checked in real time and the action is also taken in real time to avoid any losses. A typical example is real-time traffic analysis of a website in case server goes down. Feed forward control or predictive control. A preventive control is one where you foresee the problem before it occurs and therefore you are able to prevent it. Steering control. As with any vehicle that is on the road, a steering control is one which steers the process onto the right path. In this scenario, the process is ideally an ongoing process and is continually steered in the right direction. It is a combination of feedback control and concurrent control. Next one is yes or no control. Most typically used in production scenario is yes or no control, and this yes or no control are like an assembly line, either the product is up to quality or it is not. Similarly, the yes or no control is a simple control that decides whether an activity should proceed or not. Apart from these types of control, controls may be grouped according to three general classifications. That is, the nature of the information flow designed into the system, open or closed loop control, and the kind of components included in the design, that is man or machine control systems. Then the relationship of control to the direction decision process, that is organizational or operational control. And first one is open and closed loop control. This is a street lighting system controlled by a timing device is an example of an open loop system. At a certain time each evening, a mechanical device closes the circuit and energy flows through the electric line to the lamps. Note, however, that the timing mechanism is an independent unit and is not measuring the objective function of the lighting system. If the light should be needed on a dark, stormy day, the timing device would not recognize this need and therefore would not activate energy inputs. Corrective properties may sometimes be built into the controller, for example, to modify the time the lights are turned on as days grow shorter or longer. But this would not close the loop. In another instance, the sensing comparison or adjustment may be made through action taken by an individual who is not part of the system. For example, the light may be turned by someone who happens to pass by and recognizes the need for additional light. And the next one is human and machine control. That is, the element of control are easy to identify in machine systems. For example, the characteristics to be controlled might be some variable like speed or temperature, and the sensing device could be speedometer or thermometer. An expectation of precision exists between the characteristic is quantifiable, and the standard and the normal variation to be expected can be described in exact terms. In automatic machine system, inputs of information are used in a process of continual adjustment to achieve output specifications. When even a small variation from the standard occurs, the correction process begins. The automatic system is highly structured, designed to accept certain kinds of input and produce specific output, and programmed to regulate the transformation of input within a narrow range of variation. Next one and the last type is organizational or operational control. The concept of organizational control is to implement in the bureaucratic theory of Max Weber. Associated with the theory are such concepts as span of control, closeness of supervision, and hierarchical control. Weber's view tends to include all levels of types of organizational control as being the same. Most more recently, writers have tended to differentiate the control process between that which emphasizes the nature of organization system designs and that which deals with the daily operations. To illustrate the difference, we evaluate the performance of a system to see how effective and efficient the design proved to be or discover why it is failed. In contrast, we operate the control system with respect to the daily inputs of material, information and energy. And these are all the additional three types of control in the types of control. Thank you. Next one is about the steps in controlling. We already know that controlling is regarded as one of the most important management functions, and in fact without the presence of a control function the entire management function will become obsolete. The management will not be able to determine if the plan is working properly or not, or if it is properly implemented or not. The main objective of the control process is to make sure that the activities of within an organization are going as per the planning. Control process help the managers in determining the level of performance of their respective organizations. And there are various steps involved in controlling process. These include mainly five steps. That is establishing standards and methods for measuring performance. Then measure performance. Does performance match the situation? Or yes, if yes, do nothing. And if it is no, take corrective action and re-evaluate the standards. These are the steps, main steps in the controlling process. And what first one is establishing standards. What is the meaning of this standard? You have to know that what is the meaning of this standard. Although setting goals and standards are part of the planning process, it is also an important role in controlling also. The main objective of controlling is to guide the business towards the desired target. Therefore, if the employees or members of a business are well aware of the target, it will result in more awareness about the target. The managers must communicate the goals and objectives clearly to the employees without ambiguities. An organization in which everyone is working towards a common objective has a better chance to grow and prosper. Measuring actual performance against the set standards. Next one is measuring the performance. Measuring the performance means the immediate action that managers need to take after being made aware of the goals is to measure their actual performance and compare that with the standards already set. This helps in identifying if the plan is actually working as was thought to be. Once a plan is implemented, the task of manager is to monitor the plans and evaluate. Managers must be ready with an alternative plan or suggest corrective measures in case the plan is not going as was intended. This can be done only when the managers are measuring their actual performance. The way performance can be evaluated is to measure in monetary terms, hiring financial experts. This step of controlling is helpful in detecting future problems and issues and is essential for taking decisions immediately so that the company is able to recover from the losses. Next one is determine the performance matches with the standards. Whether the performance is matching with the standards or not. We have to determine that. That is the third step. Checking if the performance matches with the standards is very important. It is important step in controlling. In this step, the results are measured with the already set the result. If the standards matches, if the performance matches with the standards, then we don't want to do nothing. If it is not, if the performance is not matching with the standards, then we have to take corrective actions and reevaluate the standard. That is the last step, taking corrective actions. Corrective actions need to be taken when there is a discrepancy. Correct actions provide protection against loss and stop them for reappearing in future. This was all about the topic of steps in control process, which is an important topic of business studies for commerce students. For more, we need to know about this controlling about more. A detailed study of these steps we have to make. This is an important part of management, that is the steps in controlling. Mainly the following steps involved. Once again, I will repeat mainly these steps involved in control process are establishing standards and methods or ways to measure performance. Then second one is measuring actual performance. Third one is determining if the performance matches with the standard. Fourth one is taking corrective action and re-evaluating the standard. And if the performance is not matching with the standard, then we have to take a last step is we have to take a corrective actions and reevaluate the standards in order to make the goals effective. These are the first main steps involved in the process of controlling.